The year was 2087, and humans had spread beyond Earth to build small colonies on Mars and the Moon. Far from these busy settlements, at the very edge of the solar system, stood Frontier Station. The research outpost floated silently in the darkness of space, a tiny beacon of human life in the vast emptiness. 8-year-old Lily Martinez lived on Frontier Station with her parents, Frank and Susan. Frank worked as the station's engineer, while Susan studied distant stars and planets. Life on the station was quiet but happy for Lily. She had her books, games, and the amazing greenhouse dome, where plants from Earth grew under special lights. On this day, Lily was alone in the greenhouse. Her parents and the other 12 crew members were in a long meeting about water recycling systems. Boring adult stuff, Lily thought. She was much happier here among the tomato plants and flowers, drawing pictures of the stars she could see from the big observation window. When I grow up, Lily said to a small potted sunflower, I'm going to visit every star in the sky. The flower didn't answer, but Lily didn't mind. She was used to making her own fun. Unknown to the humans on Frontier Station, they were being watched. The Vrikian Empire had recently discovered Earth during their expansion across the galaxy. The Vrikians were a powerful, insect-like species with hard outer shells, 6 limbs, and eyes that glowed yellow in the dark. They had conquered many worlds, and Earth looked like their next target. Admiral Clogg stood on the bridge of his massive warship, looking at images of the human worlds. He was larger than most Vrikians, with battle scars across his blue-green exoskeleton. His front claws clicked together as he thought. These humans seem primitive. Their weapons are basic, their ships are slow, he said to his officers. But we must learn more before we attack. Send scouts to their outer stations, find their weaknesses. The scout ship was small and quiet as it approached Frontier Station. Inside were 4 Vrikian soldiers, each carrying scanning devices to learn about human technology. This small station will be easy to study, said the squad leader. Tricks. There are few humans here, and they will not expect us. The scout ship connected to Frontier Station at an unused docking port. The station's old computers didn't notice the intruders. Trix and another soldier named Vex prepared to enter the station, while the others stayed with the ship. Remember, we only observe. Do not engage with the humans. Trix reminded Vex. Both soldiers checked their translators and oxygen masks before opening the airlock. Inside the station, they moved carefully through empty metal hallways. Their hard feet made soft clicking sounds as they walked. They recorded everything with small cameras attached to their heads. The humans are gathered in one room, Vex whispered, looking at a heat scanner. We can explore freely. They turned a corner and found themselves in a passage with clear walls. Through the glass, they saw green plants growing under bright lights. It was Lily's greenhouse. Plant life, Trix noted. They bring their ecosystem with them. Then something moved among the plants. The Vrikians froze. A small human figure stood up from behind a row of tall plants. It was much smaller than the adult humans they had studied in their preparation. Lily saw the aliens immediately. Her eyes widened, and she dropped her drawing pad. She had never seen anything like them before. They were tall, with bodies like giant ants standing on 2 legs, and they had 4 arms. Their eyes glowed like tiny flashlights. Instead of screaming or running away, Lily tilted her head with curiosity. The aliens seemed just as surprised to see her. For a long moment, they all stared at each other in silence. Then Lily did something that would change everything. She smiled at the aliens and took a small step forward. The Vrikians had never seen a human child before. They had no idea what they were looking at, or why the sight of Lily's small form and friendly smile sent waves of ancient, instinctive fear through their bodies. Lily took another step toward the strange visitors. The aliens seemed frozen in place. Their 6 limbs trembled slightly, and their glowing yellow eyes grew wider. Hello, Lily said, waving her small hand. I'm Lily. Who are you? The 2 Vrikians looked at each other. Something was very wrong. This tiny human made their hearts beat too fast. There was something about her that triggered deep, ancient fears they didn't understand. "It is showing teeth," Trix whispered to Vex. "Is that an attack warning?" The child's smile grew wider. She bent down to pick up her drawing pad and held it out toward them. "I drew the stars," she said proudly. "Do you want to see?" Vex backed away slowly. "It's trying to give us something. Could be a weapon." Lily didn't understand why the aliens seemed scared. She took one more step forward, still smiling. "It's okay. I won't hurt you." That was too much for the Vrekians. The small human's high-pitched voice, the way she moved with quick, unpredictable motions, and especially that baring of teeth, it all triggered something deep in their instincts that screamed danger. Trix suddenly let out a sharp clicking sound. "Retreat, back to the ship." Both aliens turned and ran down the hallway, their hard feet making loud tapping noises on the metal floor. Lily stood watching them go, confused and a little sad. "Wait, come back," she called after them. The Vrekians ran faster. They almost crashed into each other trying to get back into their scout ship. The other two crew members were startled by their panic. "What happened? Were you discovered?" asked the pilot. "Worse," gasped Trix, still shaking. "They have some kind of biological weapon. A small one. It tried to attack us." Back in the greenhouse, Lily walked slowly to the communication panel on the wall. She pressed the button that would connect her to the meeting room. "Mom, Dad," she said. "There were aliens here. They looked like big bugs with glowy eyes. They ran away when I tried to show them my drawings." At first, there was silence. Then her father's voice came through, sounding worried. "Lily, is this one of your stories?" "No, Dad. Real aliens. They just left." Suddenly, alarms began to sound throughout the station. The computer had finally noticed the unauthorized ship connected to their dock. Now the ship was leaving in a hurry. In the meeting room, all 13 adults jumped from their seats. Captain Ben Lewis ran to the main computer terminal. "Unknown vessel detected. It's disconnecting from Dock 7 and moving away rapidly." Frank and Susan Martinez ran from the room, racing toward the greenhouse to find their daughter. The other crew members rushed to their emergency stations. Meanwhile, the Vrekian scout ship sped away from Frontier Station. Inside, the 4 aliens were sending urgent messages to Admiral Klox's warship. "The humans have weapons we didn't know about," reported Trix. "Small biological units that cause extreme fear. They must be engineered to target our specific weaknesses." On the bridge of his warship, Admiral Klox watched the video recording from Trix's headset. He saw the small human, her strange movements, and the terrifying display of teeth. Something about this creature made even the Admiral's limbs feel cold. "Send me all data about these small humans," he ordered his science officer. "I want to know what they are and how they affect our soldiers." The science officer began collecting information from human broadcasts and signals. Soon, the Vrekian computers were filled with images of human children, playing, laughing, smiling. "Admiral," the science officer said with a trembling voice, "the humans have millions of these small biological units. They appear to be keeping them in special compounds called schools and playgrounds. This could be their main defense system." Admiral Klox's eyes narrowed as he watched more footage of children. Something about them struck terror into his very core. But he was a war leader. He would not show fear. "Prepare a capture mission," he ordered. "I want that specific small human from the station. We must study it to find a weakness." On the Vrekian warship, Admiral Klox sat in his command chair watching human broadcasts on a large screen. His science team had collected thousands of videos showing the small humans in action. Each new image made his inner fears grow stronger. "Look how they train these small weapons," said Science Officer Mevik, pointing to footage of a playground. "The adult humans make them run in circles, climb on metal bars, and shout at high volumes. They are clearly building their attack skills." Another video showed a birthday party with children laughing and eating cake. Here they gather in groups to practice their tooth-bearing, said Mevik. And they seem to be consuming energy supplements to increase their power. Admiral Clogs clicked his front claws together nervously. What do we know about their creation? Are they born or made? Both, Admiral, replied Mevik. The humans appear to grow these small units inside female bodies. Then they spend many years training them. The smaller they are, the more dangerous they seem to our instincts. The Admiral stood up and paced the bridge. Other Vrikian officers watched him with concern. If their leader was worried, the situation must be serious. Show me the one from the space station again, ordered Clogs. The screen changed to show Lily Martinez smiling and holding up her drawing. Several Vrikian officers turned away, unable to look directly at the image. What is it about these creatures that affects us so deeply? Clogs asked. Mevik had been studying Vrikian history and biology for answers. Admiral, I believe it relates to our ancient past. Our ancestors were hunted by small pack predators with large heads, wide eyes, and exposed teeth. These human young trigger those old survival fears. Claws nodded slowly. So the humans have somehow discovered our deepest fears and weaponized their offspring to exploit them. Clever and cruel. Meanwhile, on Frontier Station, everything had changed. The meeting about water recycling was forgotten as the crew prepared emergency defenses. Captain Ben Lewis had sent urgent messages to Earth and Mars about the alien encounter. In the station's main control room, Frank and Susan Martinez sat with Lily, asking her to describe the aliens again. They had 6 legs. Well, 4 arms and 2 legs, Lily explained, and their eyes glowed yellow. They seemed scared of me. Susan hugged her daughter close. You're sure you didn't imagine this, sweetie? Mom, I know what I saw, Lily said firmly. They were real aliens, and they ran away when I smiled at them. Captain Lewis looked at the security recordings. The cameras had caught glimpses of the aliens in the hallway near the greenhouse. Lily's right, he said. Look at this footage. They definitely weren't human. The adults stared at the blurry images of the insect-like creatures. Some looked afraid, others fascinated. Why would they run from a child? Asked Dr. Pete Kelly, the station's medical officer. Maybe they don't have children where they come from, suggested Frank. Or maybe they thought Lily was dangerous for some reason. Little did they know how right Frank was. At that moment, 3 more Vrikian ships were approaching Frontier Station. This time, they weren't coming just to look. Admiral Clogs had given clear orders. Capture the small human from the station. We must study it to understand this weapon and find a defense against it. The Vrikian soldiers prepared their capture equipment. Each one had been shown Lily's image and told to be prepared for the fear they would feel. They were the bravest of the Vrikian forces, but even they felt their limbs shake when they saw the child smile. Remember, said their commander, the small human can't actually harm you. It's just feeding on our instinctive fears. None of the soldiers looked convinced, but they had their orders. Back on Frontier Station, the alarm sounded again. Multiple ships approaching, shouted the sensor operator. 3 vessels, much larger than the scout ship from before. Captain Lewis hit the station-wide communication button. All personnel to defense stations. This is not a drill. We have incoming alien vessels. In the control room, Frank held Susan and Lily close. What do they want? Susan whispered. Lily looked out the window at the approaching ships. I think they're coming back for me, she said quietly. Somehow, she knew it was true. Frontier Station shook as the 3 Vrikian ships connected to different docking ports. The humans had no weapons that could stop the aliens, so Captain Lewis made a difficult decision. We need to talk to them, he said to the crew. Maybe we can find out what they want and reach some kind of agreement. Susan held Lily's hand tightly. They seemed afraid of Lily. What if they want to hurt her? Frank stepped forward. Then we protect her with everything we have. The main airlock door opened with a hiss. 10 Vrikian soldiers entered the station, each holding strange devices that might have been weapons. Their hard exoskeletons gleamed under the station lights, and their yellow eyes darted around nervously. Captain Lewis, along with Dr. Olivia Grant, the station's communication specialist, stepped forward to meet them. Both humans held their hands up to show they had no weapons. "We come in peace," said Captain Lewis. "We mean you no harm." The lead Vrikian tilted his head, then touched a device on his chest. A robotic voice translated his clicking sounds into English. "We have come for the small human weapon. Give it to us, and we will leave your station intact." Captain Lewis looked confused. "Weapon? We have no weapons here. This is a research station." The Vrikian pointed down the hallway toward the control room, where Lily was hiding with her parents and other crew members. "The small one. The one that bares its teeth. Our scanners detected in that direction." Dr. Grant's eyes widened as she realized what the alien meant. "You're talking about the child, the little girl. Whatever you call your biological weapon, we want it for study," clicked the Vrikian leader. Just then, the door to the control room slid open. Frank stepped out, standing protectively in front of the entrance. "No one is taking my daughter anywhere," he said firmly. The Vrikians raised their devices, which now definitely looked like weapons. The situation was getting dangerous quickly. But then something unexpected happened. The door to the station's living quarters opened, and 3 more children ran out into the hallway. They were Noah, Emma, and Zach, the children of other crew members who had been told to stay hidden. Lily, called Emma, a 6-year-old girl with curly red hair. "Are those the aliens you saw?" The Vrikian soldiers froze in terror. One small human had been frightening enough. Now there were 4 of them, all looking at the aliens with wide, curious eyes. "Wow, real aliens," shouted Zach, an energetic 9-year-old who started running toward the Vrikians for a closer look. The effect was immediate and dramatic. The alien soldiers backed away, bumping into each other. Some made high-pitched clicking sounds that might have been screams. "Multiple weapons," cried their leader. "They're deploying their full arsenal." Emma giggled at the aliens' funny movements, showing her teeth in a wide smile. Noah waved excitedly. Lily stepped out from behind her father, also smiling at the visitors. The Vrikian commander accidentally activated his communication device, broadcasting the scene back to Admiral Klox's warship. On the bridge, the admiral and his officers watched in horror as their brave soldiers retreated from 4 small humans. "They're everywhere," shouted one soldier as he backed away from Zach. "The teeth. Look at the teeth," cried another, pointing at Emma's smile. Captain Lewis and Dr. Grant exchanged confused looks. The fearsome aliens were acting terrified of their children. "I think they're afraid of kids," whispered Dr. Grant. "Look at them panic when the children smile." The Vrikian commander tried to maintain control of his troops, but it was too late. When Lily stepped forward and said, "Don't be scared, we just want to be friends," the last bit of alien courage broke. "Retreat. Back to the ships," ordered the commander. The scene that followed was chaos. Vrikian soldiers scrambled over each other trying to get away from the children. They ran back to their ships, some dropping their equipment in their hurry. On the warship, Admiral Klox watched the retreat with a mixture of shame and fear. His elite troops were running from small humans who hadn't even attacked. "The psychological effect is worse than we imagined," he said quietly. "These children, as they call them, they are the perfect weapon against our kind." The message from Frontier Station reached Earth within hours. Videos of the alien encounter spread quickly among military and government leaders. Everyone watched in amazement as the insect-like aliens flood from laughing children. At Earth Defense Headquarters in Washington, Commander Diana Bell studied the footage closely. She was a tough, smart leader with 20 years of military experience, but nothing in her training had prepared her for aliens who were terrified of kids. "Play it again," she ordered. Her team watched once more as the Vrikian soldiers panicked at the sight of Lily and her friends. "This could be our advantage," said Dr. Alan Myers, the top expert in psychological warfare. He was a quiet man with kind eyes who understood how fears worked. These aliens have an instinctive fear response to children, especially when they smile or laugh. Commander Bell nodded slowly. So what are you suggesting, Doctor? We might not need traditional weapons at all, he replied. The aliens are gathering a large invasion force, according to our long-range scanners. But maybe we can make them retreat without firing a single shot. Meanwhile, the Vrikian fleet was growing larger. More ships arrived every hour, forming a massive armada just beyond Mars. Admiral Kloggs had reported the disturbing encounters to the Vrikian High Command, but they didn't believe children could be a serious threat. You will proceed with the invasion as planned, the High Command ordered. Do not be fooled by these primitive psychological tactics. The Admiral knew he had no choice but to obey, even though the images of smiling children haunted his dreams. He gathered his ship commanders for a final briefing. We will focus our attack on their major cities, he explained, showing a map of Earth. Avoid areas marked as schools and playgrounds. Those are their child weapon storage facilities. Back on Earth, Commander Bell had called an emergency meeting with world leaders. The room was filled with nervous officials from every country. The alien fleet will reach Earth orbit in 48 hours, she announced. We have limited defense capabilities against their technology, but we may have discovered their greatest weakness. She played the videos from Frontier Station. The room fell silent as they watched the aliens flee from children. Are they really that afraid of kids? Asked one skeptical leader. It seems to be a deep instinctive response, explained Dr. Myers. Something about children's faces, movements, and voices triggers extreme fear in their species. Commander Bell stood up. I propose Operation Playground. We evacuate most children to secure underground facilities for safety, but we ask for volunteers, children whose parents agree, to help us create a nonviolent defense. The debate was intense. Some thought it was wrong to involve children in any way. Others believed it was the best chance to avoid a bloody war. On Frontier Station, Lily sat with her parents as they discussed Commander Bell's request. The station had been asked to send Lily and the other children to Earth to help with Operation Playground. I don't want you in any danger, Susan said, holding her daughter's hand. But I won't be in danger, Mom, Lily replied. The aliens are afraid of me, not the other way around, and I could help save people. Frank looked worried. What exactly would she have to do? Captain Lewis explained the plan. The children would be completely safe, protected by our military. They would just need to be visible to the aliens, maybe wave or smile at them from a safe distance. Susan and Frank looked at each other, torn between protecting their daughter and helping Earth. I want to do it, Lily said firmly. Those aliens aren't bad. They're just scared. Maybe if they get used to seeing kids, they won't be afraid anymore. In homes across Earth, similar conversations happened as parents struggled with the same decision. Many refused, but enough agreed that Operation Playground could proceed. As the Vrikian fleet approached Earth orbit, Admiral Kloggs felt a growing sense of dread. Something told him this invasion was going to face challenges unlike any the Vrikian Empire had encountered before. The sky above Earth filled with Vrikian warships. They blocked the sun in many cities, casting long shadows across the land. People looked up in fear as the massive alien fleet prepared to attack. Admiral Kloggs stood on the bridge of his command ship, watching Earth grow larger on his view screen. He had ordered most of his forces to stay in orbit, while a smaller group would land first to test Earth's defenses. Begin the landing sequence, he ordered. Target the area they call North America first. 5 large Vrikian ships broke away from the fleet and descended toward Washington, D.C. on the ground. Commander Bell watched them approach. All units in position, she asked through her communication device. Yes, Commander, came the responses. Operation Playground is ready. Inside a special shuttle hidden near the White House, Lily sat with 12 other children. They were between 6 and 10 years old, all volunteers whose parents had given permission. Each child wore a small protective vest and had adults nearby to keep them safe. "Are you scared?" asked a boy named Jack, who sat next to Lily. Lily shook her head. "Not really. I've seen these aliens before. They're the ones who are scared." A soldier came into the shuttle. "We're almost ready, kids. Remember, you don't need to do anything except be yourselves. Wave, smile, and just act natural." The children nodded. Some looked nervous, but others seemed excited to be part of this unusual defense plan. The first Vrikian ship landed in the National Mall, a large open area in the center of Washington. Doors opened on the side of the ship, and heavily armed Vrikian soldiers began to march out in perfect formation. There were hundreds of them, each carrying weapons and wearing battle armor. Admiral Klaus watched from orbit through cameras mounted on his soldiers' helmets. So far, he saw no human resistance. No weapons fired at his troops. The landing zone seemed strangely empty of humans. "Proceed with caution," he ordered his ground commander. "This may be a trap." The Vrikian soldiers moved forward slowly, their many legs clicking on the pavement. They spread out, securing the area around their ship. Still no human response. Commander Bell waited until the aliens had advanced about 300 yards from their ship. Then she pressed a button on her communication device. "Launch Operation Playground," she said quietly. Across the National Mall, the special shuttle rose into the air. It was small, clearly unarmed, with large windows through which the children could be seen. The shuttle flew slowly toward the alien formation, hovering about 50 feet above the ground. Inside, Lily and the other children moved to the windows. They waved at the aliens below and pressed their smiling faces against the glass. The effect was immediate and dramatic. The perfect formation of Vrikian soldiers broke apart as the aliens looked up and saw the shuttle full of children. "The small weapons," shouted the Vrikian ground commander. "They're using them against us." Some soldiers raised their weapons, but they were shaking too badly to aim properly. Others began backing away, pushing against those behind them. The shuttle moved slowly over the alien formation. Inside, the children were now actively waving and making funny faces at the aliens. "Look, they're running away," shouted Jack, pointing at a group of soldiers hurrying back to their ship. He was right. The once fearsome Vrikian army was falling apart. Some soldiers dropped their weapons to run faster. Others froze in place, trembling with fear. Commander Bell gave her next order. "Activate the screens." Suddenly, giant video screens around the National Mall lit up. Each showed close-up images of children laughing, smiling, and playing. The sounds of children's songs and playground noises filled the air through powerful speakers. It was too much for the Vrikian forces. What had started as a retreat became a full panic. Soldiers fought each other to get back inside their ships. Some were so terrified they ran in random directions, anything to get away from the images and sounds of children. In orbit, Admiral Klaus watched in horror as his elite troops fled from unarmed human offspring. "Stand your ground," he shouted into his communication system. "They cannot harm you." But his words had no effect. The retreat had become unstoppable. Earth had won the battle without firing a single shot. 6 months passed since the day the Vrikian fleet retreated from Earth. The aliens had left so quickly they abandoned several landing ships and pieces of technology. Human scientists studied these items carefully, learning much about the alien civilization. In a special room at the United Nations building in New York, Lily sat next to her parents. She wore a nice blue dress and had her hair tied back with a ribbon. Today was an important day, the first official meeting between humans and Vrikians since the failed invasion. "Are you nervous?" Susan asked her daughter. Lily shook her head. "No, I'm just happy they want to talk now instead of fight." On a large screen at the front of the room, the face of Admiral Klaus appeared. He was speaking from his ship, which stayed far from Earth in a peaceful orbit around Jupiter. The Admiral still couldn't look directly at Lily without feeling afraid, but he was trying hard to overcome his fear. "People of Earth," the Admiral began, his clicks and sounds translated into human languages. I bring greetings and apologies from the Freakian Empire. Commander Bell stepped forward to represent Earth. We accept your apology, Admiral. We're glad you want peace now. Over many long meetings, humans and Freakians had learned about each other. Dr. Myers and his team discovered why the aliens feared children so much. It's evolutionary, he explained to world leaders. The Freakians evolved from creatures that were hunted by small pack predators. These predators had large heads compared to their bodies, made high-pitched sounds, moved unpredictably, and showed their teeth before attacking, just like human children when they smile and play. Admiral Claus had been surprised to learn that human children were not weapons but simply young humans who would grow into adults. In our species, he explained, our young look like smaller versions of adults from birth. We have no concept of childhood as you know it. Now, 6 months later, the first steps toward friendship between the two species were beginning. Through the screen, Admiral Claus spoke directly to Lily. Young human Lily Martinez, you showed great courage. Our scientists have studied the recordings of our encounters. We now understand that your smile was not a threat display but a greeting of friendship. I personally apologize for frightening you and attempting to capture you. Lily stood up and approached the screen. Behind her, Frank and Susan watched proudly. I accept your apology, Admiral, Lily said clearly. I wasn't trying to scare you. I just wanted to be friends. The Admiral made a sound that his translator said meant respect and admiration. Because of you, we have learned something important about ourselves. Our fear of your kind was based on ancient instincts that no longer serve us. We must grow beyond our fears. Commander Bell announced the new agreement between Earth and the Freakian Empire. Today we sign the first peace treaty between our worlds. We will share knowledge and technology, but never weapons. We will visit each other's planets, but always with respect. Part of the agreement included a special program to help Freakians overcome their fear of children. Brave Freakian scientists would view recordings of children from a safe distance, gradually getting used to their appearance, sounds, and movements. Someday, Admiral Claus said, we hope to meet human children without fear. It may take time, but we are determined to try. As the treaty was signed, people around the world celebrated. News programs showed images of the day the alien fleet ran from laughing children. Teachers told the story in schools. It became known as the battle that never was. 10 years later, a special ship left Earth for the Freakian homeworld. Ambassador Lily Martinez, now 18 years old, stood on the bridge looking at the stars. She remembered the small greenhouse on Frontier Station, where she had first met the aliens. You were right, she said quietly to herself, thinking of that day long ago. I did visit the stars. Behind her, a Freakian crew member approached cautiously. Though still somewhat nervous around humans, he had volunteered for this mission to overcome his fears. Ambassador Martinez, he said, we will reach my homeworld in 3 days. Lily turned to him and smiled. This time, the Freakian didn't run away.